I'm pretty sure somebody stole my weekend. I'm not sure about you, but it's like I woke up, the alarm was going off, and hey, it's Monday all over again. Not that I'm complaining. As I told somebody when I walked in to the studio very, very early this morning, they were going out, I was coming in. They were like, oh man, so they were kind of mumbling. And I said, at this point, I'm just glad to have a Monday, to be honest with you. Good morning to you. I'm Dan Gresham. Welcome to my house. This is my corner of the world. When people say Dan's in his home studio, it means a variety of different things. I am in my home studio, which is my office, if you will, but it's not just a broadcast studio where we do our Facebook live streaming, but it's also my art studio, paint studio, where I like to play. So it's a little bit of both, but either way, I'm glad you're here. It's a little bit messy this morning. I spent time here this weekend kind of playing and doing different things with the weather. And is it just me, or did you spend the week? I kept thinking, oh, we're going to get a lot of rain. Everybody was talking about this tropical system, Hannah. I watched it. I was very, I don't know. I guess because we've been through so many storms, that now I'm drawn to the information. I want to know. And I want to know what's happening to somebody else. Are they having trouble in Corpus? What kind of trouble are they? Does it look like what we had when we had our tropical weather, storms, hurricanes? And just, I don't know, maybe it's just a curiosity of things that happen around us in my community and other communities. But I wanted to know, so I watched. And I kept thinking, okay, we're going to get a lot of rain. We're going to get some rain. I didn't get that much rain. I don't know about you. It might have been different in different places. But it was just kind of a Saturday got some. Then yesterday, sunshine mixed with a few clouds all day. Breezy. But then, of course, late in the afternoon, about 5:30, I got a little additional rain. I'm not complaining. I've got enough rain. I could probably do without for a while. Hope you did well this weekend too. All right, let's talk about what we're going to do this morning. As always, we're going to get you caught up on what's happening in your headlines. We're also going to have a couple of distractions. We'll talk about some other things that are going on other than just, death, pestilence, destruction, the normal things that seem to be what we talk about these days. But we'll get to all that. First things first, I want to thank you for being with us, as I said. And again, if you don't know, I'm Dan Gresham, morning show anchor at KFDM TV. And it's your turn to tell me who you are this morning. You have to tell me who you are. You just have to say hi if you want to. Give us a shout out. We do like and we do, go and check on folks, see who's checking in with us in the morning. For example, Marie is here this morning. See, Tabitha is up. Debbie over in Orange is working this and watching this morning. Let's see. Also, Colleen Fisher. Good morning to you, Colleen. Glad you're up and going. Esther Hulleman is with us this morning. Chase on. Good morning to you, sir. Diane Smith is here this morning. So anyway, we like to say hi. Tom, always good to see you. He's watching in Frankfort, Illinois. And appreciate people who are watching in our area and people who are watching outside as well. So you can post up. We'll give you a shout out if we get the opportunity. And of course, you can also ask a question, make a comment, something that you're curious about, something that you've seen. You certainly can do that. Hi, Diane. Thank you for getting up with us this morning as well. All right, so let's jump to it this morning. Let's go check out what's happening on KFDM.com, your first stop on the internet. And we'll get Diane's, she'll move along. There she goes. Thank you, Diane, though, for being with us this morning. Here's a look at KFDM.com. As I said, it is a great place to start in your search for what's happening. You can go in and see what's happening in the homepage, and that's where you'll find the latest stories. We always try to move things to the top of the page so that when you go, you can go, okay, this is new. This is something I need to look at. The story that might get your attention, especially in light of the fact that we are counting down the days until schools open in some form or fashion across Southeast Texas, for that matter, across the Lone Star State, is, of course, back to school PPEs, back to school, well, just protocol for the most part. How's it going to happen? So, top story of the day, 2 staff members working at the BISD administration building test positive for the coronavirus. I'm not sure what kind of message that sends you. I don't know if that tells you, oh, We need to be concerned about teachers and staff. Because here's a good example. This weekend, BISD received notice 2 staff members who work at the admin building tested positive. The employees at the facility last on Thursday, the 23rd. They say they wore appropriate PPE, followed frequent sterilization methods, did not come in direct contact with any member of the public. So as such, the health department says they're a low risk to other people. But still, in that situation, BISD had really no other choice but to close the administration building on Saturday, do a deep clean, and then open later today. And they say members of the public who visited the building in the last week should continue to closely monitor their health. Is this a harbinger of things to come? Is this a sign of what we're going to be dealing with moving forward if things don't change? I mean, and again, the numbers, while they may be leveling off or plateauing off, as I heard a Houston epidemiologist say, if you're going 100 miles an hour in a pandemic with, the contagion, and then you level off at 100 miles an hour, you still haven't done a whole lot of good. You're still at 100 miles an hour. That's how fast you're spreading. So with these numbers being the way they are, should we get set for the idea that this is just going to become maybe commonplace? That because the spread is there and it's pretty easy to do. And when you get a lot of people in a small space, even if you limit the number of students. Now, a lot of districts have chosen not to begin the school year in class. They have chosen to do it online or virtually. But there are also a number of them who are going to be going. And is the question about whether the kids are safe or whether the adults, whether they're staff members, teachers, administrators, are they the ones that maybe are concerned? Because children, for the most part, and we can't say absolutely because some children have gotten the virus and have gotten sick, but for the most part, the numbers are very small. Remember, again, the numbers are pretty small everywhere when you put it in perspective of the entire population, as per the number of people who are actually getting sick. But will that be, like I say, a harbinger of things to come? That we'll see that. The other story kind of in line with this one concerning back to school, state shipping out protective equipment to school districts. State of Texas is already doing that. They're sending out masks, face shields, gloves, thermometers, hand sanitizer. And you can imagine what an issue this must be for school districts, because this would be a pretty big hit on your budget if you're going to have to go out and buy masks for all the kids who are coming into your school. Now, we talked to Little Cypress Mauriceville, and the superintendent there said, hey, we're going to encourage kids who have their own mask at home to bring them to school, but to make sure they're appropriate for school. Because now we're starting to see masks that aren't necessarily just blue surgical mask or somebody's cloth mask, from home, but in fact have branding, advertising. There's even a story today on USA Today about facial coverings with swastikas on them. So obviously that would probably not be appropriate, wouldn't be appropriate to wear to school for most school policies. So that would have to be something that people consider. And again, parents will have to make that decision whether they're going to send their kid to school or they're going to virtually have their kid learn online. If it's an option, in some places, it's not going to be an option. The other story I want to touch on today is the COVID numbers, because I think they're really one that we need to pay attention to. These are the reporting numbers for tests, okay? So we've given 3,664,679 tests as of yesterday in the state of Texas, all right? That's total number of tests reported. And then you can go into, if you want to, the positivity rate, which is 13.76%. Then you can go in and break it down by the state if you want to. And you can go over here on the side and you can go down and you'll see Jefferson County right there with 32,726 confirmed positive cases. That doesn't mean there are that many people that are active today. That means in total, from the beginning, that's how many people have tested positive. That does not mean there are 32,726 people who went to the hospital. Right? I mean, I just want to hammer home the idea what these numbers mean. Same thing when we look at the case data. You know, we've had 5,038 fatalities. 5,038 fatalities in the state of Texas. And of those, here's, to me, maybe the most interesting stat of the entire day. Of those 5,000, let me see if I've got this for you so you can see it. And I'll put it up. There you go. 20% of the COVID-related deaths in Texas, of that 5,000, have been recorded in the last 6 days, really closer to 25%. A quarter of all those have been reported in the last 6 days. That's 1,018 people that have died. And you could say, well, people rationalize this away. Well, it's because, they were old people, or they were predisposed, or they had any pre-existing condition. Whatever you want to say, the reality is that's 1,018 souls that disappeared from this planet. Somebody's brother, somebody's mother, somebody's sister, somebody's cousin, somebody's uncle. And if there are some interesting stories out there that are talking about, had we had mask mandates in place earlier, how many lives would have been saved? It's a pretty significant number, but I'm going to leave that for you to go and look at those. But I just thought those were numbers that you would probably want to know and you would probably want to see. While we're on numbers, let me take you back over Texas Tribune. As I tell you almost every day, nonprofit does a good job of keeping up with what's going on in Texas. You can see there are 10,075. Now, here's the important part. There are 517 less people today in the hospital than there were a week ago. That's a good thing, right? But it's still very, very high. 5,810 new cases reported on July 26 yesterday. And as I said, more than 5,000 Texans have died. 153 of those deaths came on July the 26th. And that's 1,000 more than a week ago. So again, numbers are what they are. They are numbers. And as people say, you can make numbers say anything you want or speak any way you want. I'm not sure that's really true. If you look at numbers and you take them for what they are and you put them into context, then maybe they have more meaning. All right. Again, want to hear from you today. If you got something you want to talk about, feel free to post up. And if we don't read it on the air, doesn't mean that they're not being read. Just means that maybe I'm reading them on my time instead of being able to read them while we're here. All right, let's got a couple other stories that I wanted to get to this morning real quickly. You've been in a place that you've had to buy something and they've asked you, do you have exact change? Or can you help me out with change? Or maybe you've taken it upon yourself. Maybe you've seen these stories and you started doing it. I thought this was kind of an interesting story that I ran across this morning on USA Today that I wanted to share with you. Check your couch cushions. One Chick-fil-A is offering free food if you'll exchange them coins. If you have at least $10 in spare change, Chick-fil-A in Virginia will offer you free food. This is, again, USA Today. Amid the nation's coronavirus-caused coin shortage, franchise owners in the city of Lynchburg running a special offering a free voucher to customers who exchanged $10 of rolled coins for $10 in paper cash. Look, they even have posters printed out. Help prevent us from going cashless. For every $10, you get a free, entree, or you get one of these free. And that, who would have ever thought that this would have been a fallout? From people not going out. Did you see the other one that surprised me was the aluminum can shortage? Because beer manufacturers and makers, brewers, are finding that they don't have any aluminum cans because the demand's been so high. Because normally beer consumed by a lot of people would be at a bar or a restaurant, which is served in a keg. And now, more and more people are buying it at home, taking it home. So now there's, exactly. Look at this. I'm just reading this story. Since the start of the pandemic, many companies and medical experts have encouraged people to cut back on using physical money because it can transport germs. Instead, they advise using more contactless payment methods in a bid to curb infections. That has contributed to the current COVID-19 shortage of pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. So if you wondered, what does this have to do with the coin shortage? There it is. That people are like, oh, I'm not touching that nasty. Well, why wouldn't you say that anytime? If you're a germaphobe, right? Coins, paper money, everybody's had it, put it in their hand, stuck it in their wallet. You don't know where that's been, right? Your mom used to tell you that. You don't know where that's been. I think the other issue, and I think that probably people are thinking the same thing, and in fact, I see Gary Perkins, you're ahead of me, Gary, says, people aren't cashing in their buckets of the coins. They're not making big purchases right now. They're not. And a lot of people just aren't making purchases at all, Gary, in some way, in form, and fashion, that would cut back on the amount of change that's being exchanged. Now, you're going to see a lot of stories out there too. Oh, this is a move to go to a cashless society. Again, go read, go find. You have to make those kind of decisions. Those are choices and places that you have to go. And there's plenty of information out there, plenty of different places to go to read it this morning. Mary Wolford writes, beer in a box, like kids' drinks. I guess I assure you, Mary, they'll come up with some way, right? Some way. Bill Tibbs says, driving between Sugar Land and League City, where you have to go through the Easy Tag, their take change is closed. I noticed that the other day too. I had to go over there, and in fact, it was Easy Tag or not, I guess, or take a ticket. Let them send it to you later. But yeah, they were not taking change when you go through those. Another one of those things I'm not sure anybody saw coming when this all started. All right, I made a promise that I would try to, moving forward, always end the day on some kind of a lighter note, not to spend a lot of time. Everything we seem to read is down. It's a negative. Makes you walk away going, really? Geez, what else could there be? And then something else happens, something else hits. So I've kind of made a promise to you and to myself that every day I try to end on something positive. And I will. I'm going to ask you one more favor before we go this morning. That is, if you will hit me with a like. That's simply the blue circle with the thumbs up. And again, as I always say, just gives me some credence and some ammunition when I go in and talk to the folks, the powers that be. That I can say that, you're there, you're watching. People are still watching the at-home update. Of course they are. So if you'll do that for me, I'd appreciate it. All right, so let's end this morning on that positive note. You have not been to a movie theater, unless maybe you've been to a drive-in somewhere. And I kind of doubt it that you've been there. So I'm looking this morning, and in the Houston Chronicle, I ran across an interesting story. What's the old adage? Necessity is the mother of invention. When you have to have something, you find a way. There's a workaround. You create it. We come up with it. We've been doing it as Americans. We've been doing it for more than 200 years, right? And we're still doing it. In fact, here is a good example. This is not an American example, but it will be here in America that we will be taking advantage of it. Movies on a boat. You heard me. Movies on a boat. It's going to take place in Houston. This Houston Chronicle, Allison Medley posted this story, and it's essentially saying that, it's forced us to change our ways of being entertained, but drive-in movie theaters have seen a resurgence. So this Australian company called Beyond Cinema has announced a boat-in floating cinema, and they're going to put one in Houston and apparently in Austin. And floating cinemas will include 12 to 24 mini boats, each carrying 8 people, up to 8, that will provide a uniquely socially distanced entertainment experience. Customers will be required to rent one mini boat to ensure groups will be seated with friends and family only. In Austin, there's a floating cinema experience set for September the 23rd. And look, here's a picture of it right there. All the people are just, in the boats, enjoying the cinema. Now, I know a lot of people jump in, hey, can I bring my bass boat? I think you're restricted as to what you can bring in. But again, got to give them credit. And drive-in theater owners, they're probably like, I told you we'd come back one day. Indeed they are. But in China, Beijing, they've opened their movie theaters. Kind of awkward, kind of weird the way they're doing it. As you can imagine, they're enforcing social distancing to the nth degree. I believe it was either 20% or 30% capacity in the movie theaters. Mask at all times, no food or drink. But they are, at least, they're at that point, which is where we are not, if you're going by the numbers, at a point where they can start doing things like that. All right, quick reminder here on the update. We always like you to know that there are plenty of places that you can go and check up on what's going on with us. You can do so by going to our Facebook page, where you're at right now, KFDM News. We always try to keep things updated here. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Morning TV Dan. And on YouTube, we post all of our at-home updates, Dan's at Home. So you can go and check it out there. I want to thank you for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. That kind of gets us up to speed. And of course, it's a Monday, kind of a slow day. I'm sure we'll see more going on as we move forward. By the way, I do want to mention this. We started off talking a little bit about tropical weather, how we didn't get a whole lot out of Hannah. But if you were watching, Gonzalo was one of those storms. It was like, there are all these storms lined up, 1, 2, 3. Forget Gonzalo. Done. Just kind of cratered, fell into itself apparently, and disappeared off the coast of South America. But there is still another one coming off the coast of Africa that is looks like it might be headed across the Atlantic. So we'll have to keep on that. Long way from the end of Atlantic hurricane system. We got a long way to go. So we need to be vigilant, on top of our game. And we promise we will be. Again, KFDM.com, great place to go to catch up on what's happening. Don't forget, broadcast coming up noon today. Dana will be back on KFDM along with Tan, and they'll have all the latest headlines. And, of course, also look at what's going on in your forecast. Then again at 5, 5:36, 9, and 10 on both KFDM and KBTV. And, of course, I'll see you back tomorrow morning bright and early on KFDM and KBTV as well. So go out and make it a terrific day. Look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Until then, be safe.